Well, yesterday they came through and guess where all the weeds are? They gone. Because they're getting ready to sow in their winter wheat. And they don't want the weeds. And I was like, man, these guys are just following my sermon. It's so exciting. But there's a season for everything. Ecclesiastes was our text. And, we love the good times. The hard times are kind of difficult. But there's a season to everything. And one of the challenges that we face is that every moment of our life is under God's time. Now, I didn't mention this Sunday because I didn't want to go off too far. What is one of the challenges to us as human beings going that God's time is perfect and that everything that happens in our life is inside his time? What's some of the challenges to that? Our imperfection. Yeah, we tend to kind of zig and zag, right? We think maybe we can duck, dodge, or delay. Yeah, what else?
Well, I understand it's perfect, but God, can you kind of tell me what's going to happen? So
Okay, yeah. Aren't we team? Oh, man, I almost got there. Yeah, Lord, aren't we team players? Can't you clue me in? Sure. I mean, I know I'm the only one that's ever been blindsided by life. I know it's not you, it's just me. Yeah. What else? Let me ask you this. Do we wrestle with this when we get the bonus at work? When, next thing you know, you're like, wait, what is this? And you're like, oh, yeah, you get a bonus. You're like, God, are you sure? Where are you? I can't believe you. No, it's typically the difficult times. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And we'll just leave it at it's hard. But the seasons, we see there's a season for everything. But the psalmist says in 31:15, my times are in your hands. And that is comforting when I can hold on to it tight enough. It's true because all of my time is in his hands. So in a couple of weeks, I'm speaking at the Rafa graduation, the Embrace Grace graduation. All the moms to be. And one of the things I like to share with them is the fact that, these moms to be, I assume most of them, if not all of them, this wasn't the intended path, but this is the path that they're on. And all of the challenges, and all that is, my bride and I were happily married. I was terrified, absolutely terrified. It's neither here nor there. But I want to encourage them, and is that we may be someplace we didn't intend to be. However, God's promise is that not everything is good, but everything he can work for good. Because my parents were unexpected, unwanting parents to be. And just like these young ladies over here, they chose life. And they chose to try to build a life and a family together. That was their choice. In the midst of, in the mid-60s, man, and they were from as different worlds. And I tell them, listen, my parents weren't thinking about Jimmy Vaughn in 2025, but God was. God was. In 1965, they weren't thinking about it, but in 2025, God was. And God, and God goes, hey, this isn't really the best path, but I knew you would be here. And watch what I do. And one of the things I struggle with even today is the fact that my birth parents never got to see who I am. Now, one day heaven, and those sort of things. I hope that I will be there with them. This is a free advertisement. If there's anyone in your life that doesn't absolutely know that heaven is your home by faith through grace, make sure they know. It's the greatest gift you'll give them. Don't give them $5. Give them your testimony. And then if you've got $5. Because that's one of my greatest struggles. Because we're talking about the law of timing. At 60 years old, I'm like, Lord, if you knew what I was going to be, and if my parents, God forbid, miss heaven, You see the struggle that I'm in. Now, there's no guarantee that they would listen to their son. But, so. But the Lord says that all of our time is in his hands. So let me ask you this. How does the prospect know that our current season has a divine purpose? We mentioned Sunday that I actually broke it out into a little more, but we're going to go with, for the sake of brevity, a planting, a pruning, and a harvesting. I put in a watering, and I also put in a preparing. But if you were going to pick one of those in your brain, which of those seasons do you think you might be in right this moment? Is God preparing you for something? And we're going to talk a little bit more about Sunday, about sowing. Preparation is often uncomfortable. That ground that lays out there all winter underneath the snow and the rain and all this, it's not really excited to have that big old plow come up through it if it has feelings. You ever walk around and look at animals and think about what they think? Do cows ever get bored just out here being a cow? You ever wonder that? I do. Went to this fair, and I'm looking at all these animals, and I'm like, are you bored? Or are you at the zoo and we're the animals? Huh? Are they looking and they're going, look at this guy. He doesn't even know where his next meal's coming from. All I do is lay here and look pretty, and they bring me food. Maybe they're the king. Just saying. It's a tough world. But we have to think about ourselves. One of the things at 60, I think to myself, Lord, I just kind of now think maybe I'm starting to understand what I'm doing. And I'm closer to the exit than the entrance. And I'm not going to lie, it's a little frustrating to me. I'm like, I'm just now kind of liking my own teaching after all these years. You can ask my bride. I don't remember the last time I asked her, well, how was that? And my bride goes, it was great. And I think to myself, would you tell me otherwise? Do you have that relationship with that significant others where you'd go, no, babe, that was terrible. I don't know if my bride would do it. But wherever we are, God is there. And wherever we're coming from, God was there. And wherever we're going, God is there. And the promise of that can be very comforting to us. It can be very encouraging to us. It can be very liberating to us. We talked about the law of timing, and I mentioned it Sunday. And it's funny because I guess there's some other people like me. Have you ever run ahead of yourself? Has your mouth ever ran ahead of your brain? Yeah. Man, I hate when that happens. It no more clears your lips, and you're like, oh, man. So what's some other areas in our lives where something can run ahead of our brains? Anybody here ever get a little aggressive behind the wheel? Well, I had a guy the other night. I was like, bro, I don't know. I just pulled over and slowed down. I got to grandma speed, and I was like, well, just go on with your bad self. And oh, by the way, I hope you don't wreck between here and my house so you don't hold me up. But anyway, that's beside the point. What about, and I did mention this, Cindy, what about our text messages? You ever send a text you wish you could get back? Or you go to try to erase it before they read it? Or a social media post? I'm sorry. I heard that whisper. What was it? No, listen, man, if the Holy Spirit's convicted, I'm just the messenger. I'm not the convictor. But in the law of timing, we have to understand that there is a perfect timing. So let me ask you this. What is the danger of running too far ahead of God? What are some of the pitfalls to that? Going somewhere that he doesn't intend you to go. Have you ever missed an exit? You've been just too focused. Now, I'm a dude, and I'm just like all the other dudes. I'm not going to say they do it, but I'm like, man, we're making good time. Right? What else? What are other some, Ryan, what's a pitfall of running too far ahead of God?
You're going to run off in the ditch is what you're going to do.
You're going to find a ditch?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? This is the class participation part.
Missing your purpose.
Okay. Missing your purpose.
So if there's something that you're supposed to be doing, if you rush into it and you're not fully prepared or aware of what it may be, then
Okay.
that opportunity.
Okay.
If you're ahead of time, basically, it turns out into, for you, hurry up and wait.
Yep.
Okay. So you can arrive someplace. You might even arrive where God was taking you, but you might arrive ill-prepared.
But he's already there.
But he's already there, right? That's right. And he already knew you were going to run the red light. So that, yeah.
Helps fill in the
Yeah, and then over here, if you run too far ahead, sometimes life will stop you down. Well, it's funny because I was going to say for the Lord to catch up to you, but he's omnipresent, but we're not going to go there. But for you to be able to come back to him, right? I've told many a person, listen, you go ahead, and when you get done, God will be right where you walked off from him. Okay, so if we run too far ahead, and then there was one that you didn't mention, I'm going to throw in there. If we get too far ahead, it becomes a my show, not his show. Yeah. I'm telling you what, success can be one of the worst things to happen to a believer.
I wrote on Mitch's board at his office,
Uh-huh.
the worst thing you can get is everything you want.
Man, I'm keep... Okay, so now let's ask quickly. We see some challenges about running too far ahead of God. What about running too far behind him? What's some of the challenges of running too far behind? What's that? You miss your blessing. Okay. You miss that divine appointment maybe? Yeah. Or, sure. I don't know about you, but sometimes my eyes don't see as goodly as they used to. If it's way out there, it may look a little different. Or how about this? May not see it at all. Yeah. What else? We're walking too far behind. Tell you what, I'm doing such a good job, I'm going to have one of these. Disobedience. How does... Okay. Understand this, that too far ahead or too far behind gets you out of the safety zone. I'm afraid it didn't cost you extra. Okay. Disobedience. More struggle. With or without? With peanut butter. Oh, sorry. Oh! She didn't see it because it wasn't a tortilla. How about this? If you're walking too far behind the Lord, have you ever gotten so far behind someone you're walking with, you go ahead. Just go ahead. I'll be here. Just go. Discouragement. Distraction. How many of you, when your kids were little, you just let them drag behind you? I see this these days, and it scares me to death. Parents are just walking, and the kids are straggling behind, like, Chief. No. Listen, when I go on mission, I go with a group of people. Jeff will tell you, man, everyone's between me and the lead dog. I'm last guy. I'm this. If we drag too far behind the will of God, there's discouragement, there's distraction, there could be disobedience. It's easy to do something you don't want them to do behind your back than it is beside you or in front of you. And so the law of timing is the safest place for us to be is close to the Lord. I wish I could, I meant to go look, but in my first Bible, so in my office, there's a brown Bible. If you ever see it, don't touch it. Because that Bible, I got called to my first church on Sunday. Monday morning, I was at Cherry's Christian Bookstore and bought that Bible. You're welcome, Ronnie.
Yes.
And so I've used that Bible for years, and it's got notes. I mean, it was the first Bible I ever owned, and obviously was using because, and then it got retired because age has a way of wearing things out. And listen, not only I would humbly request that you not bother it, but some years ago here at the little ALF, I walk in, it was over there. I walk in on a Sunday morning, my bride's there, and she has a Bible in her hand. And I look, I said, what is that? She goes, well, I left my Bible at home. I said, not even my bride. And yeah. But in there it says God's ways and God's timing will always produce God's best. And it's so simple, but it's so hard. But it is so true. And so part of the challenge that we face is this, is we want to walk close enough to the Lord that we're in his timing. We don't want to run too far ahead because there's danger. Now, a little bit ahead, God wants us in a proactive mode, right? Too far behind. So you remember Sunday, what do we say that retirement for a believer is? Memorial service. That's right. Someone quoted me on Facebook. I felt very important. It's a memorial service. But the third part of this is that God, in his time, will bring beautiful things. Have you ever done your really best and it just wasn't quite what you thought it might be? But has there been a time in your life where you look back and you go, wow, God, you really showed out right here? Yeah. Whatever man builds, another man can tear down. But what God builds, and what God builds, he typically builds in people, not always around them. If we're, as believers, if we're not careful, and especially as pastors, we can get hung up on I had a pastor friend of mine, his church provided lunch today. And I walk out there, and I'm like, hey, man. He goes, man, I love your church. And I said, so do I. And he goes, man, I've never been in your building. Will you show me? And I said, well, okay. And his deacon was with him. He goes, can my deacon come too? And I go, I'll have to charge you double. And we come walking in here. And like everyone does, Jeff, I've never had a person walk in this door that didn't go, oh, wow. Because the outside doesn't do anything. It's just, there are folks in our homeless community that think we might be a cult. Because, this looks like a cult building. And I got to tell him the story of this. It's such a God-sized story. And I got to relive. Remember, brother? Huh? It's about that time. You want to cut some wood? Jim Cano and a bunch of wonderful men spent a lot of hours in here cutting wood. Do you remember when we had the conversation about how to make a little more space in the pews? Because Presbyterians must have been real small, or it was built so you couldn't get out. It was one of the two. I remember it was a Christmas Eve service, and a young lady, young and agile, needed to facilitate. And because she couldn't get up, she went under the pew and out the back. Yeah. And Jim, I was telling him today, I said, yeah, we had to go all the way to South America to get this wood. And I was telling him about the staircase, and he's looking at us. I said, brother, go on up there. You don't have to. And I told him that until the morning that I read in the paper that this campus and the other campus was going to be available for sale, I had never driven in this driveway. I grew up in Greenville. Never been in here. Because he said, man, he says, I drove in. And he says, that archway's beautiful. And I got back here and he said, I said, man, this is a place. I said, I felt the exact same way the first time I drove in here. When I walked, the secretary in the office over there, I walked in there, introduced myself. I said, hey, can I look in there? She goes, yeah. I said, well, I read in the paper today, da-da-da. And she goes, what?
Yeah. Yikes.
Sorry. And, I walked in and, I mean, I can say it now. I mean, we're, 15 years into this now? But I walked in and there was a something. There was a something. Oh, I didn't hear God audibly, and so the challenge that we face is this: in the timing of life, we need to be reminded, we need to be comforted, we needed to be challenged in the fact that God is always on time. He exists outside of our time, but he works inside of our time, and he's always on time, even when we don't feel like it. Even when sometimes his timing isn't what we wanted. I mean, we've all had times. But then we have to understand and embrace the fact that waiting grows us. Walking with the Lord. My bride and I walk at a little different pace. And we're at the fair. And we walk at a little different pace. And I just simply will not leave my bride behind. I can't do it. I'm not from the Middle East. And hey, babe, you keep back here. You keep that respect space. I can't do it. I need her to be here, minimal. And then when she starts really slowing down, I need her up here. And she'd say, go on, go on. No, I'm not going to go on. Needless to say, Mia walks faster than all of us, but that's beside the point. Oh, yes, much younger.
She can actually run.
She can run. I can run too.
No.
It's the stopping that becomes very,
Well, we're going to define the word run, I guess.
the way I define it.
Yeah.
And then lastly, that unfortunately, sometimes the beauty of God's timing may not be seen until eternity. Maybe. But like I said Sunday, that tapestry illustration. Sometimes God gives us a glimpse of what one day heaven. And then this week I was looking at this mosaic, and I was thinking about what we talked about Sunday. Is a mosaic by its nature is the taking of broken things and making it into something beautiful. You've got to break to create. And I thought of my own life and my experience, and I tend to break pretty much on my own pretty good. But sometimes life breaks you. Life has a way of taking off the edges. I was working with my daughter this week. She's at the ripe old age of 34. When life's just too much, 34. And she goes, man, and I said, love, here's the truth. Life is made up of peaks and valleys. And there's more valleys than peaks. But it's the valleys that make the peaks more beautiful. And we learn more in the valleys. I said, when we can find joy and contentment and purpose in the valley, then you're beginning to win at life. And so, I'm trying to encourage my 34-year-old because, hey, listen, I don't know what the average age of a lady is today. I think it's north of 70. You're not halfway there yet. So that's, And unfortunately, I'm speaking as a man who's had to learn that lesson. But God is timeless, and he's always timely. The challenge for us is to look, trust, and sometimes even in the dark, we have to trust. So here's a closing question. Oh, well, they're running late. What are some ways that we can trust, or should we trust, even in the dark? there a burrito to go with that?
Squirrel.
Yeah, well, you don't see what I'm seeing. So what are some keys for us to trust? Promises. Yeah. I mean, God was faithful to them. Yeah, it's true.
Trust where he's been faithful to you in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, go back in the archive. Yeah. And what's amazing is when you revisit the valleys after the Mosaic, there's almost a little bit of joy to it. It's weird. You're like, okay. Have you ever thanked the Lord for a valley? Have you ever thanked the Lord when he taps your little life plate and
I've told him I don't like it.
No, they're not. No. Listen, no one likes. But you're like, okay. I need to write a note, and I need to make a note to write a note. That's the world I live in. I need to write a note because I need to send a note to Dr. Hunt's widow. I need to write her and let her know. I've never told her how much Dwight meant to me. We're friends on Facebook, and she's very supportive. And for the very brief time that we were ministering together, I really feel this need to just encourage her in that, and I need to do that because that was a rough time. I can't imagine what they were going through, and then, but I look back now and I'm grateful because I'd have missed everything. I'd have missed everything that I love the most right now, as far as professionally. So, are they coming in here? Has anyone seen them? Yeah. Oh, they must be coming soon because it got quiet.
Yeah, it looks like they're lining up.
Okay. So let's just remember, Sunday we're going to finish our series. We're going to talk about the sowing, and then we're going to start a new series for November. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet.
The book of Acts.
The book of Acts? That'd be an awfully big pitch for November.
You can do it.
Could I? Only Josh can teach the Bible, the entire Bible, in 2 Sundays.
Well, that's true.
He did. I remember when he started, I was like, oh, bro. But he did. Hey, I got to give the young man credit.
And nobody fell off the heart.
Nobody fell off, so. It is. The twins slinkered. Yep. How old? 36. Oh, man, you wear it well. 36. 36. Man, I didn't know nothing at 36. I was just. Anyway. All right. Any comments, cries of outrage, fits of anger? Oh, I saw that hand. All right. Well, thank you guys. To the online church, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, and we'll see you Sunday, Lord willing.